And now a moment from Your History and Health Comes First with Dr. Richard Brown.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to my podcast. This is Your History and Health Comes First by Dr. Richard Brown. Today is March the 2nd, 2022. It is also Nutrition Month. In addition to that, it has also been designated a colorectal cancer month. And then I just found out that it's actually been designated as National Women's Month. But today, we're going to talk about nutrition and how important nutrition is to our health. So your history and health comes first. Nutrition, what is it? Nutrition is the study of nutrients in the food, how the body uses them, and the relationship between your diet and your health and disease. So nutritionists do a lot of studying, of course, to get their credentials, but they use ideas from the molecular biology, from biochemistry and genetics to understand how nutrients affect the human body. So nutrition is also focused on how people can use dietary choices to reduce the risk of disease. Now, it looks at what happens to a person if they have too much of a nutrient, what happens to a person if they have too little of a nutrient, and how allergies work. So nutritionists are very important folk. Nutrients provide nourishment, okay? And there are proteins, there's carbohydrates, there's vitamins, there's fat, there's minerals, there's fiber, there's water. All of these are nutrients. And if people do not have the right balance of nutrients in their diet, then there can be problems. They can develop certain health conditions. And these conditions increase as the longer the balance is out of balance. So balance is really important, even in life in general and in specific. If you've got balance, you got a pretty good situation going on. When you're out of balance, it's not as good as when you're in balance. I mean, you can run races, you can go faster, you can perform better when you're in balance. When you're out of sequence and out of balance, things don't just work right. And nature in general has a propensity to always kind of seek balance. It is always dynamic and moving, but for the purpose of achieving balance. And so nutrition is an area whereby it is very important to the human being because it helps you to stay in balance if you have the right nutrients. So I'm going to explain the different nutrients that a person needs and why. And we'll always look at the role of nutrition. And then I'll talk about the difference between nutrition and dietitian as well. So there are macronutrients that people need large quantities of, and then there's micronutrients that they don't need as much of. So first, there's carbohydrates. So I'm sure those of you who are trying to lose weight or have talked about your health and maybe some diseases that you've had, they talk about nutrients and carbohydrates and different types of foods that'll help you stay healthy, because you are what you eat, as you know. And if you don't know, believe me, you are what you eat. You become what you eat. Depending on what you eat, you can become something else, someone else. So nutrients are very important and they need to stay in balance. So the first one is carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, the nutrients that are included in carbohydrates include sugar, starch, fiber, and there's some other types. Let's talk about sugar. Sugar is so important to talk about because it is a problem for a lot of people. And it's addictive. It makes you feel good. It provides sparks of energy. But sugar is a simple carb. The body quickly breaks down sugar and also quickly breaks down starch. They both provide rapid energy, but they do not leave a person feeling full. You can eat a lot of sugar and it'll give you instant energy. You'll feel good for a minute or two, but you won't feel full. Matter of fact, you'll crash after the sugar, kind of wears off. So carbohydrates that produce sugar and that's full of sugar cause sugar spikes in the blood. And when you get sugar spikes in the blood, it could lead to an increased risk of type 2 diabetes and the complications that come along with that. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. So fiber. Fiber is also a carbohydrate. The body breaks down some fibers more quickly than others. Fiber and unprocessed starch are complex carbs, okay? It takes the body some time to break down and absorb complex carbs. But after eating fiber, a person will feel full for longer than when you eat sugar or and carbohydrates. Fiber may also reduce the risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and some colorectal cancers. So complex carbs are good and they're more helpful choice than sugars and refined carbs. Proteins, you've heard of proteins before. You've heard of protein shakes and protein bars. Proteins are very, very important. Proteins consist of amino acids, which are organic compounds that occur naturally. And there are 20 amino acids. I'm not going to talk about all of them, of course, but they're a good source and a necessary source, which means that people need to obtain these proteins and amino acids from foods. Some foods provide complete protein, which means that they contain all the essential amino acids the body needs. Other foods contain various combinations of amino acids. Most plant-based foods do not contain complete protein, although plant-based foods are really, really good for other purposes, and I'll talk about that a little later. But most plant-based foods do not contain complete protein. So a person who follows a vegan diet, who needs to eat lots of vegetables, then they need to also eat foods that have essential amino acids in them. Okay, let's talk about fats. Fats normally is not a good thing. Fat, you don't want fat, right? That's what people say. Although there's some good fats and there's some not so good fats. But let me tell you about fats. Fats are essential for certain things. For example, lubricating joints, you need the fat to help that happen. It helps the organs produce certain hormones. It enables the body to absorb certain vitamins. And fats help to reduce inflammation. Also, fats associated with preserving brain health. Now, I talked about balance earlier. Balance is important. So too much of anything is not good. If you don't have enough, in some cases, it's not good. I mean, for example, having a birthday is a good thing. And the more you have is a good thing. But you could have too many and you die. So, not quite a direct analogy, but my point, hopefully you get it, is that there's too much or there's too little and you want balance. So in terms of life, if you could have a balanced life such that, let's say you stop having birthdays after, let's say 45 or 55 and you wouldn't get any older, that would be great. Because the older you get, certain things happen, which increases this and that, which gets you all out of balance no matter what you do. But anyway, let's get back to talking about fats. Too much fat can lead to obesity. Obesity is not a good thing. It can lead to high cholesterol, liver disease, and other problems. So people don't want to talk about obesity, but obesity contributes to a lot of other diseases and problems, because when you're carrying around excess weight and don't get enough exercise and enough nutrition, then it creates problems for all the organs in your body. So the type of fat a person eats makes a difference. There's unsaturated fats, such as olive oil, and there's saturated fats, such as those fats that come from animals. So again, when you're eating a lot of hamburgers, steaks, and porks and pork chops and any animal products, including milk and cheese, then you're consuming saturated fats. They're saturated. So they're not as good for you as unsaturated fats like olive oil or other oils. Okay, next, water. We know water is important. We can't live without water. We need water every single day. A person can't live more than, I think it's 10 to 12 days without water, sometimes 2 weeks. So we need water. The adult body consists of 60% water. So 60% of our body consists of water. So we've got to keep that balance, which means we have to keep putting water in. And water helps with a lot of different processes. And water has no calories. It does not produce any energy. It just creates an environment to keep things in balance so that all of the other body organs can function. Now, how much water should you drink? Well, some people recommend 2 liters of water a day or 8 glasses of water a day. But it depends on your dietary sources and what you're doing. Vegetables give you a lot of water. The body must be adequately hydrated. If you're not adequately hydrated, meaning having a balance of that water in your system, 60%, then that creates problems. How much water should you drink? Some say 8 hours a day. There's also studies and some practitioners that say, and I kind of believe in it, you drink water until your pee is clear. Let me repeat that, because we're talking about water, we're talking about pee, we're talking about hydration, we're talking about health. If you want to know how much water you should drink water until your pee is clear. Now, it depends on your body size and the environmental factors, what kind of exercise you may be doing to determine how much water you should drink in the course of a day. Water definitely is a benefit. And if you participate in a physical activity, then you know you need a little more water than you normally do. If you sweat, then you're sweating water. I learned something when I lived in the country a couple of years by an old gentleman who was very, very knowledgeable, very smart. He had horses. He was a coon hunter. He had a farm, and I would always want to ride his horses. And what I noticed, and I finally asked him about it, was that before we would go riding, he would always take the horses to the trough to drink water. They drink lots and lots of water. And then we would ride for 45 minutes to an hour. And when we come back, he would not let them drink water. And I could not understand that concept, because for the most part, when humans do a lot of exercise, they drink water. But when I asked him about it, he explained that, you know, horses are such that they will exert energy and go as fast as you make them to go. And they're still pretty heated up when you get through riding them. And unless they cool all the way down before they drink water, it could create serious problems with their metabolism and with their health. And again, you got to have that balance. So after they cool down for several, maybe an hour, maybe even 2, then we allow them to get some water, but not immediately. So water is super important, and we must pay attention to it. Many times people go to the hospital because they're having all kinds of problems, and all they do, they find that the person's dehydrated. So they put them on certain liters of saline just to get more fluids into their body, because 60% of the body is water, and it must stay in balance. So then I talked about macronutrients. Now I want to talk about some micronutrients. Micronutrients are essential in small amounts. They include vitamins and minerals. And manufacturers sometimes add these to your food. And an example of fortified cereals is an example of a micronutrient that's added to a particular food and give you some minerals. And rice also is fortified and they put minerals in there. So the body needs carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. These are all minerals. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. You know, when you hear scientists talking about going to the moon, they look to see what minerals are there. Is there carbon going on in the moon? Of course, they always want to know if there's oxygen there, but they want to know if hydrogen is there as well, and nitrogen, because these are essential minerals that the human body needs. It also needs dietary minerals such as iron, potassium, and so on. So in most cases, a varied and balanced diet will provide the minerals that a person needs. If a deficiency occurs, a doctor may recommend some supplements. And here are some of the minerals that the body needs to function well. One is potassium. Potassium is an electrolyte. It enables the kidneys, the heart, and the muscles and the nerves to work properly. So potassium, too little can lead to high blood pressure, stroke, kidney failure. Too much may be harmful to people with kidney disease. Avocados, coconut water, bananas, dried fruit, squash, beans, and lentils are good sources of electrolyte and potassium. Bananas are really good. Bananas is the most favorite fruit on the planet. More people eat bananas than any other fruit. I love avocados too, and I drink a lot of coconut water. It has nutrition value as well, and it tastes good. And you know, water gets a little boring when you drink it every day all the time, but you should drink mostly plain water or water that is not flavored necessarily, because it doesn't give you the nutrition that you need. Next is sodium. We hear a lot about sodium. Sodium is salt. Sodium is an electrolyte. Now, sodium is good because it maintains nerve and muscle function. It regulates fluid in the body. However, again, too little can lead to hyponatremia. Symptoms include lethargy, confusion, fatigue. Now, if you get too much salt, I think you know a lot about, we should know a lot about salt and what happens if you get too much. We know that it can lead to high blood pressure. And when you have high blood pressure, this leads to and increases the risk for cardiovascular disease and stroke. So table salt, which is made of sodium and chloride, is a popular condiment. Any restaurant you go into, you're gonna find salt and pepper, along with some other stuff like ketchup and sugar and things like that. However, most people consume too much sodium, too much salt on a daily basis. Salt is in most of your food already. It's a natural ingredient in most foods. So you really don't have to put salt on anything if you want to control, you know, the issues that come with salt, especially high blood pressure and some other things. So both naturally occurring salt occurs in certain food, and people with high blood pressure should not put salt on their food because it can also lead to kidney disease. Calcium is another element that we want to talk about here. The body does need calcium, and it needs calcium for bones and teeth. Too little can cause bone and teeth weakness. Too little, too much can cause constipation, kidney stones, and can reduce the absorption of other minerals. So good sources of dietary products for calcium includes tofu, green leafy vegetables. Next is phosphorus. Phosphorus is present in all body cells. Too little phosphorus can lead to bone disease and affect appetite, muscle strength, and coordination. It can also result in anemia, a higher risk infection, burning, or prickling sensation in the skin, and confusion. Too much in the diet is unlikely to cause health problems, though toxicity is possible from supplements, medications, and phosphorus metabolism problems. Magnesium. Magnesium contributes to trusted sources, muscle and nerve functions. It helps to regulate blood pressure, blood sugar levels, and it enables the body to produce protein, bone, and DNA. Again, too little magnesium can eventually lead to weakness, nausea, tiredness, restless legs, sleep conditions, and other symptoms. Too much magnesium can result in digestive and eventually heart problems. So a good source of magnesium include nuts, and spinach, and beans. And you should eat those naturally as opposed to eating all that meat that we eat a lot of each day. Zinc. Zinc plays a role in health of body cells. It helps with the immune system. It helps with wound healing and the creation of proteins. So a lot of people will be taking zinc when they get sick or a cold, or a doctor may even recommend zinc because it does help to strengthen your immune system. Now, too little can actually lead to hair loss, skin sores, and change in your taste or smell. So I don't know what's happening exactly. I don't know the science, but there's a lot of people that are bald-headed these days. Young people in their 20s and 30s don't have any hair, or most of it's gone, so they shave the rest off. Now, according to the nutritional science, zinc could help with that perhaps, okay? Because too little can cause hair loss. Now, too much zinc can create problems in the digestive system, and it can cause headaches. So once again, you have to balance everything. The next element we want to talk about is iron. So iron is crucial for the formation of red blood cells, which carry oxygen to all parts of the body. So if you got enough iron and it's in balance, then you get the proper amount of oxygen going to the entire organs of the body, and this is good. If you do have too little, then you have what is called anemia, including some digestive issues and some weaknesses, difficulty thinking. You may get lightheaded if you don't have enough iron. But too much can lead to digestive disorders again, and very high levels can cause fatality. Now, good sources of iron include fortified cereals, beef liver. I don't like beef liver. I'll never eat beef liver, so I have to avoid that one if I want to get some iron. But I do like spinach and tofu, which has large sources of iron in it. And then we come to manganese. Manganese plays a role in blood clotting, and it supports the immune system. So if you don't have enough manganese and you get a cut, then you may bleed more profusely than you normally would. So again, you need balance. So you want to keep a good source of manganese so that your blood will clot properly. I know my blood, for some reason, and it may have to do with an increased amount of manganese, because I don't bleed readily. My blood clots pretty quickly. Matter of fact, I've been unable on many occasions to give any blood because it clots so fast. So I don't know. I think I may be hard to kill. I may be hard to die because I don't bleed too easily. I think that's a good thing. But too little can cause and result in weak bones, especially in children. It could cause skin rashes in men, and it can cause mood changes in women. So I don't want to say much about that, except that it can cause mood changes in women if they don't have enough manganese. So let's look at what are good sources of manganese. Mussels, hazelnuts, brown rice, chickpeas, and spinach all provide manganese. So hazelnuts, I never knew that much about why people like hazelnuts or why they were so popular. But now we know that hazelnuts, brown rice, chickpeas, spinach, mussels, they provide high sources of manganese, and it not only can help your blood clot, but also, if you don't have enough, it could create some skin rashes and mood changes in women. Okay, copper. So copper helps the body to make energy and produces connective tissue in the blood vessels. So too little copper can lead to tiredness, patches of light skin, high cholesterol. Too much copper, of course, can result in liver damage, abdominal pain, nausea, diarrhea. Too much copper also reduces the absorption of zinc. So once again, you got to have that good balance. So a good source of copper includes beef liver, again, which I do not eat, can't stand it. But there's oysters, potatoes, mushrooms, sesame seeds, and sunflower seeds. Selenium. Selenium is made up of 24 selenoproteins, and it plays a crucial role in reproductive and thyroid health. As an antioxidant, it can also prevent cell damage. Again, too much selenium can cause garlic breath, which you don't want that. I don't think it can cause diarrhea. You don't want that either. Irritability, you probably don't want that. Skin rashes, brittle hair or nails. So selenium, which we don't hear much about, don't know much about, could be a problem if you have too much. But if you have too little, it can result in heart disease, infertility in men, and arthritis. Sources of selenium are Brazil nuts. Also, other plant sources include spinach, oatmeal, baked beans, tuna, and enriched macaroni. Excellent sources. All right, the next, we're going to talk about vitamins. And you've heard a lot about vitamins. Take your vitamins from a child or adults. Take your vitamins. Take your vitamins. Make sure you get plenty of vitamins. They're very important. And there's water-soluble vitamins, and then there's a fat-soluble vitamins. So you know most about vitamin C. You've heard drink a lot of orange juice to get your vitamin C, and lots of people are involved in taking vitamin C tablets, as well as some other vitamins like B and C. Water soluble or B and C vitamins. Fat solubles are A, D, E, and K. I take vitamins every day, B and C and E, and I take some zinc as well, because those nutritional supplements are very, very good for you. And there's, of course, multivitamins that you can take, which are usually prescribed by a physician if indeed your nutrition deficient. So, well, finally, I need to wrap up. Let me just speak to you about the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist. And I'm sure you've heard both and you don't know the difference between them. And it is a little difficult to understand. So a dietitian, mostly, which is a registered dietitian, is a person that has studied food and nutrition and diabetics. And to become a registered dietitian, you have to attend an accredited university that has a curriculum on dietitian subjects and nutrition subjects. And then even after you get your degree, you have to pass a licensure exam. And then you have to participate in continuing education every year over a 5-year period. Every 5 years, you must get at least 75 continuing education credits. And you usually, a registered dietitian will work in private, public healthcare, education, corporate settings. A nutritionist learns about nutrition through self-study or formal education, but they do not meet the requirements that will give you a title of registered dietitian. They often work in food service and maybe in science and technology. So nutrition is the study of food and how it affects the body. People need to consume a variety of diet and obtain a wide variety of nutrients. Some people choose to follow a specific diet in which they're only focusing on plant food, which is great. But if you only participate on plant food and eat plant food, you must have some protein. So you gotta eat some food that's high in protein. So a diet that is rich in plant-based foods, and which is good, and most of the time it eliminates animal fats. They have to find some food that they need to eat to balance that off. So that's my story for today. I want to thank you all for joining me in this podcast today. Your history and your health comes first. Until next time, this is Dr. Richard Brown signing off. Thank you.
This has been Your History and Health Comes First with Dr. Richard Brown. And you can leave suggestions at ewcfacts@gmail.com. That's ewcfacts@gmail.com. This has been an EWC Communication production.